Where I live, we've got lots of tall trees. They're all pretty straight grained. You know, they all have straight lines. One thing I got to noticing though, after you see all these tall straight trees, is that every once in a while you'll spot one that's growing in a real spiral fashion. I'm thinking they're pretty rare. I mean, I've looked at about 10 million trees and I've only seen a few hundred of them growing in that spiral fashion. I took some pictures of one the other day, I'll show you. I've always wondered why the trees why they grew spiral like that. It made me think of the water going down the drain and the Coriolis effect that makes that spin one way, one direction up in the northern hemisphere, and down in Australia it goes the other way. And that made me wonder if the trees grow in a spiral direction, the opposite direction than they do here. I've noticed that it's a right-hand turn. As they go up, they spin, see, it would be clockwise as you're looking up. And in fact, spiral growth is common in conifers. It happens in their seeds. I'll get some better pictures of it to show you. Following that sequence, the petals on flowers grow. All sorts of things. The head, the cabbage, lots of bacteria grow that way. The nautilus shell is the most famous of them. You see it all through nature, spiral growth. But in these conifers, it's a pretty rare and unusual thing. Apparently, it's something that happens in nuclear physics. They can cause it to occur at a subatomic level. So then the other thing I learned is that the spiral growth in plants is not always according to a Fibonacci spiral. There's a whole other set of spiral numbers called the Lucas numbers, the Lucas series, which result in spiral formations. And plants seem to just do all kinds of spiraling. It's not necessarily related to Fibonacci. So I have no idea whether this spiral in the big tree I'm looking at is a Fibonacci spiral, a Lucas spiral, or some other kind of anomalous spiral. So I don't know nothing about that either. Okay, that's enough about Fibonacci. The reason for the twist is still a mystery. There's been a couple of theories. Most popular is always been that there's maybe some kind of a disturbance in the soil. On the roots on one side get damaged, or they're a big rock or dry or something. So all the water's coming up the roots from one side of the tree, and in order to carry the water to all parts of the tree, it started to grow in a spiral. Another theory I mentioned earlier is about the wind blows on the tree a certain way, causes them to twist. So like I said, I did a little bit of research. Turns out, of course, there's a large body of scientific evidence that deals with trees, forestry, and this is this spiraling growth of conifers is well known and well discussed in the scientific literature, as they say. It's called grain helix. And when they talk about the spiral growth, it means two distinct things. First, you're talking about large old trees with a severe twist, like the big one that I'm curious about and I'm investigating. And so that's one kind of spiral growth, the big old trees. But for them, the more important meaning of the term spiral growth is a natural twist, and nearly every tree has. They're really not straight grain, turns out. They're all just a little bit twisted. And what's interesting is when they're young, though, most of them grow to the left, and I think they mean as you look down at the tree, it spins to the left. And most of them start out spinning to the left, and as they grow older, they reach a point where there's no spin, no twist, and ultimately a right twist as they get mature. And this is real important if you're in the lumber business, because everybody knows if you run a twisted tree through your sawmill, you'll come out with lumber with diagonal grain on it, worthless, won't have any strength. And apparently if it's just a little bit of an angle, a little bit of too much of a twist, they say about 3 degrees, or just a little bit, 3 degrees off plumb, that's too much to run it through a sawmill. I did a little bit of measuring, and with a little graph here I'll show you, and looks like this tree has like a 45-degree angle off of plumb on its twist. The most recent scientific stuff I found said it's the basic function of cell division in this kind of plant. When each new cell matures, it takes on the form of the one preceding it in its file, in its line. And so if they're all, the first one's tilted, all the ones that come after that are going to be tilted. And as I say, that can change back and forth over the course of a tree's life. But that is a totally different thing than what I have going in this big old tree here. This is one of the old ones with a severe and pronounced twist. And the way it looks in that big tree, where the whole tree has grown in a spiral fashion, pretty much a steady rate throughout its life, that tells me that it's probably programmed into the genes of that tree. I don't know why it happens, but it's pretty weird, pretty cool, unusual, noticeable, and it was fun to learn about. Hope you enjoyed it. Hear a raven calling Sadie. Okay, well, that's what I learned. As usual, feel like the more I learn, the less I know. Alright. That's today's Nature Lover Outdoor movie. Hope you enjoy the show.
This has been another fine Floyd Stinky Boy outdoor movie for outdoor lovers.